The accidental arrival. The sky above Zerani Prime cracked open with thunder and strange blue fire. A small human cargo ship, old and damaged, tore through the clouds. Smoke trailed behind it. Sparks flew from its engines. Inside, alarm screamed. Daniel, Reed, a young human pilot, was thrown against his seat as the ship shook violently. He was trying to land, but the controls were broken. His voice trembled as he spoke into the radio. "Mayday! Mayday! This is Human Transport 9K requesting emergency landing. Anyone receiving me?" No reply. Just static. He had no choice. The ship was falling fast. Daniel pulled hard on the manual levers. The landing was rough. The ship hit the ground, bounced, then slid across purple grass and finally stopped near a glowing forest. Everything went silent. Daniel sat still for a moment, breathing hard. He looked around the dark cockpit. Sparks flew from broken panels. A large crack ran across the front screen. He was alive. Slowly, he opened the hatch and stepped out. The air smelled strange, sweet, almost like fruit, but heavier. The sky above him was soft orange, and the trees nearby glowed with gentle blue light. He looked around. "Where am I?" he whispered. Suddenly he heard something. Voices. Daniel turned. A group of figures was walking toward him from the forest edge. Their bodies were tall and slim, their skin different shades of violet, blue, and gold. Their long hair moved like silk, and their eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. They were alien women. Only women. He took a step back, confused. "Hello?" he called out. The aliens stopped a few feet away. They stared at him, silent, tense, shocked. One of them, with bright silver eyes, whispered something in her own language. The others gasped. Then one of them spoke in a soft, accented voice. "Human? Male?" Daniel nodded slowly, still unsure. "Yes, I'm human. My ship, it crashed. I didn't mean to land here. I didn't know this planet was occupied." The women looked at each other. Some looked scared. Others, fascinated. The one who had spoken stepped forward. "You must come with us. The Queen must see you. You are not safe here." Before Daniel could ask anything, more figures appeared. They wore white armor, with glowing chest plates and tall spears that hummed with energy. "Royal Guards." "Wait," Daniel said, lifting his hands. "I'm not here to fight. I just want to fix my ship and leave." The guards did not attack. Instead, they formed a circle around him. One of them, an officer with golden tattoos on her face, looked him up and down. "You are the first," she said, "in many generations." "The first? What?" Daniel asked. No one answered. They escorted him away from the crash site, through the glowing forest. The trees whispered with every step. Strange lights floated between branches, like glowing jellyfish in the air. As they walked, Daniel noticed something strange. There were no men, no male voices, no male faces. Every person he saw, whether soldier, traveler, or elder, was female. He was led into a large floating carriage made of crystal and vines. Two alien beasts pulled it, giant, soft-eyed, creatures like crossbreeds of elk and lion. The ride was silent, tense. After nearly an hour, they reached a shining city in the mountains. It was beautiful. Towers of glass and stone sparkled under the evening sky. Waterfalls fell between buildings, and floating platforms moved across the air. People stopped and stared at him as he passed. Some covered their mouths in shock. Some whispered. Some looked curious. Daniel shifted nervously in his seat. Inside the palace, a soft voice spoke again. "Wait here. The Queen will see you." He was left alone in a room filled with flowers that glowed softly. The air was warm. The silence was deep. His mind raced. Where were all the men? Why was everyone looking at him like a ghost? Suddenly the door opened. A woman stepped in. She was different, taller than the rest. Her dress shimmered like a river under moonlight. A thin crown rested on her head and her eyes were sharp, glowing green. She looked at him for a long time before speaking. "You are real," she said. "A true male, flesh and blood. After all these centuries." Daniel stood slowly. "I don't understand. What is this place? Why am I the only man?" The queen did not smile. She did not blink. "This is Zerani Prime," she said softly. "A world where no male has walked for 300 years. She stepped closer. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "And now, you've come." Daniel couldn't sleep. The moon of Zerani Prime hung low in the sky, casting silver light through the crystal windows of the chamber where he had been placed. Alien stars blinked above him, too many and too bright. He had landed on a planet, with no men, and now he was being watched like some rare creature. He sat by the window looking out. The city below was glowing. Soft music drifted in the air, notes played on strange floating instruments. Alien women walked in groups or alone, all graceful and quiet, like the planet itself was made of calm. But Daniel felt anything but calm. "Why am I here?" he whispered. The door slid open with a soft chime. It was her again, the woman from before, the one with long hair like woven silver and sharp violet eyes. She wore a cloak made of feather-like fabric that shimmered with every movement. "Amarisa Vel," she said, bowing her head slightly. "You are not a prisoner, human. You are a mystery." "I don't understand anything," Daniel said honestly. "No men? 300 years? What happened here?" Arisa looked away, then walked toward a glowing map on the wall. Her fingers traced a symbol that looked like a broken sun. "There was a sickness," she said quietly. "It came without warning. A virus that affected only the males of our kind. It spread fast and it killed every one of them. No cure, no survivors, no sons were born again." Daniel swallowed. "That's horrible." Arisa nodded. "It changed our world. We survived, but not without pain. The people learned to lead without males, but the emptiness remained." She looked back at him, her expression serious. "And then you arrived." "I'm not from here," Daniel said. "I crashed by accident. I'm just a cargo pilot, not a chosen one. You may not believe in destiny, but many do." Arisa stepped closer. "There are old texts, ancient records. They speak of a sky-born male who would return one day. Many believed it was myth. Now, they wonder." Daniel frowned. "They think I'm part of a prophecy?" She didn't answer. Instead, she turned toward a narrow path just beyond the chamber. "Come. Walk with me. I will show you something." He followed her through a curved glass door that led outside. They stepped into what she called the Garden of Queens, a massive sanctuary filled with glowing plants, golden butterflies, and silent fountains made of starlight. Statues of past rulers stood tall, each carved with wings on their backs and sorrow in their eyes. "This is where all decisions are made," Arisa said. "This garden holds memory, law, and truth." Daniel walked slowly, brushing his fingers across the smooth leaves. They pulsed with soft light at his touch. "Why did the queen bring me here?" he asked. "Why not just help me repair my ship and let me leave?" "Because she fears the people will fight over you," Arisa said, without hesitation. "Some see you as a miracle, others a threat." He stopped. "A threat?" "You are something we no longer understand," she replied. "Your biology, your presence, your choices. If you chose one woman, you could spark jealousy. If you chose none, you could start rebellion." "That's insane," Daniel muttered. Arisa looked him dead in the eyes. "This world is fragile, human. And fragile things fear change." They stopped at the base of a silver tree with glowing fruit. Arisa picked one and offered it to him. "Try it. It's called Valari. It helps calm the body." Daniel took a bite. It was sweet, like honey and mint mixed together. He exhaled slowly. "So what now?" The Queen will speak with you again tomorrow, Arisa said. There will be options. Daniel raised an eyebrow. What kind of options? She may ask you to stay, she may ask you to choose, or… Arisa hesitated, then added, she may ask you to bond with one of the Virelin. Daniel laughed nervously. Bond? You mean marry? Arisa didn't smile. To bond is more than marriage. It is a spiritual connection, a promise, a union of life and legacy. Daniel blinked. I just want to fix my ship. I believe you, Arisa said softly. But this world might not let you leave so easily. They stood in silence, surrounded by beauty that felt too perfect. But above them, high in the towers, not everyone was quiet. In a dark chamber lit by blue fire, a group of alien women in black cloaks watched Daniel's image on a floating screen. Their eyes burned with anger. He will ruin our order, one hissed. He must be taken, another said. Let the Queen play her game, the leader whispered. We'll take what we need, when the time is right. Daniel stood in front of a throne carved from silverstone, glowing faintly with blue lines that pulsed like veins. The throne room was wide and silent, its high ceiling painted with ancient stars. Soft music from alien wind chimes echoed in the background. Every wall was covered in vines that shimmered like metal threads. The Queen sat tall and still. Her name was Thalendra, ruler of Zeroni Prime. She wore a robe made from living fabric. Each thread moved like water, reflecting her mood. Right now it pulsed with calm silver and curious blue. Daniel could feel his heart beating in his ears. Around the room stood noblewomen, advisors, and warriors. All women, all staring at him. You are not being judged, the Queen said calmly. Her voice was soft, but it echoed through the chamber. You are being introduced. Daniel frowned. Introduced to what? To possibility, she replied. He waited for her to explain, but instead she raised one hand. A large circular door opened behind the throne. One by one, 12 women stepped into the room. They were tall, graceful, and dressed in the traditional silks of Zerani royalty. Each one held something different: a glowing flower, a carved stone, a music orb, or a staff with shifting symbols. These are the heirs of the council, the Queen explained. Each of them was raised with honor, skill, and the hope that they may one day bond with someone rare. Daniel took a small step back. Wait, is this some kind of selection ceremony? Arisa Vel stood at the Queen's right side. She did not speak, but her expression was unreadable. Queen Thalendra rose to her feet. You are the first male to stand on this world in 3 centuries. Our people believe in balance. We believe in legacy. If you stay, you must choose a bondmate. It is law. Daniel shook his head. I didn't come here for this. I crashed. I'm not part of your law or prophecy. I just want to go home. The Queen's face remained calm. We are not forcing you, but if you remain here, even for a short time, our culture will respond. Women will come. Some will offer gifts, some will offer their hearts, and others will fight to have you. Daniel turned to Arisa. Is this true? She hesitated. Yes, it's not about power. It's about survival. Many want to rebuild what was lost, starting with you. One of the 12 stepped forward. She had fire-orange hair and deep teal skin. Her voice was confident. If you choose me, I will make sure you are honored forever. No pain, no confusion, just comfort. Another stepped up. She was younger, quieter. Her hair shimmered like ice. If you choose me, I'll never leave your side. I only ask to learn from you. Daniel felt dizzy. All eyes were on him. I don't even know your people, he said. How can I choose someone I just met? You are not required to choose now, the Queen replied. But know this, every day you remain here, the choice becomes harder. Suddenly a strange humming echoed through the hall. A messenger ran in, kneeling quickly before the Queen. Your Majesty, she whispered, rebel activity has increased. There was a breach near the energy fields. The Queen's calm broke just slightly. She turned toward Arisa. Send more guards. Double the watchers near the mail. Daniel raised his eyebrows. Wait, watchers? You're spying on me? For your safety, Arisa answered carefully. Daniel stepped back. This is insane. I didn't ask for this. The Queen raised her hand again. No harm will come to you. We only ask that you understand what your presence means. Just then, a voice shouted from the shadows behind the throne. He should not get to choose. He is not even Viralan. A tall woman in black stepped forward. Her armor was marked with the symbols of the outer guard. She pointed at Daniel. He is a stranger, and we are treating him like a prince. This will divide our people. Thimime, Queen responded coldly. Captain Sorrel, stand down. But the damage was done. Murmurs filled the chamber. Divided whispers. Uneasy glances. Daniel suddenly felt like a lit torch in a dry forest. Dangerous even if unintentional. I think I've made a mistake coming here, he said, turning away. You didn't come, Arisa said, stepping beside him. You crashed. There's a difference, he looked at her. In her eyes he saw something different from the others, not worship, not fear, not desire, just understanding. As he left the chamber, escorted once again by silent guards, Daniel whispered to himself, This place doesn't want me to leave, and maybe it won't let me. The palace lights dimmed early that evening. Daniel sat alone in his new room, a round chamber built into a tree-like tower. The walls glowed with soft light, and tiny blue insects floated inside the crystal windows like living stars. But Daniel wasn't looking at any of it. He stared at the small communicator he had pulled from his wrecked ship. It blinked red. No. Signal. He had been trying for days to connect with someone, anyone. Earth, a patrol ship, even a pirate relay. Nothing worked. He was alone. Suddenly, the door hissed open. He stood up fast, but it was just Arisa Vel. Her face looked tired, her armor dusty. She had come straight from outside. You've been watched again, she said quietly, closing the door behind her. 3 figures near the lower gardens. Rebel scouts. Daniel rubbed his face. Why do they care so much? I'm just a man. Arisa sat on the edge of the bench. That's exactly why. To you, being male is normal. To us, it's like finding a creature from a dream, a threat, or a miracle. Daniel sat beside her. So these rebels, what do they want? They want you, she said without hesitation, but not for peace. She stood up and walked toward the window. 300 years ago, when the virus killed all Varellan males, a group of women formed the Blood Path, a secret order that believed we were punished for weakness. They trained in shadows. They believed males made our world soft and should never return. Daniel's voice was low. Then why do they want me? To control you, Arisa answered. To use your DNA. To create males their way. Warriors, loyal only to them. You're not a person to them, you're a weapon. A knock at the outer gate interrupted them. It was soft. Too soft. Arisa drew her blade instantly. She gave Daniel a sharp look. Stay behind me. They stepped into the main hallway and opened the wooden panel. A young servant girl stood there, shaking. Her skin was pale green, and her eyes full of terror. They're here, she whispered. I saw them. They're inside the outer wall. 4 of them. They wore black. No faces. Arisa's eyes narrowed. Go. Tell the Queen's Guard. Tell no one else. The girl nodded and ran off into the shadows. Arisa turned to Daniel. They're not waiting anymore. They're moving. Suddenly, the tower shook. Daniel grabbed the wall. What was that? Arisa didn't answer. She ran to the window. Smoke was rising from the far side of the city. Distraction, she said. They want you to run, or be taken while guards are split. We have to leave, Daniel said. She nodded. There's a passage beneath the garden, the old escape route from the days before the virus. No one remembers it, except me. They moved fast. Arisa led Daniel down spiraling stairs and through cold tunnels. The walls grew darker, the lights dimmer. Finally, they reached a stone door covered in vines. She pulled a glowing key from her belt and pressed it against the wall. The door slid open with a hiss of old air. Beyond it was a forest of glowing blue trees, a place untouched by modern hands, wild and ancient. The crystal forest, she said. We hide here, just until sunrise. They stepped into the forest. The ground was soft and warm. The trees swayed gently, their leaves glowing brighter when Daniel passed. Strange animals peeked from behind roots, curious but unafraid. I've never seen anything like this, Daniel said, breathless. This is where the Viralan first rose, Arisa whispered. Before the cities, before the towers, this forest was our cradle. Daniel touched one of the trees. It pulsed under his fingers. Then, a sound, footsteps. Soft, silent, but growing louder. Arisa pulled Daniel behind a large root. 3 shadows moved through the trees. Tall, armored, each carried a long spear with crackling tips. Find him, one of them said. Her voice was low and hard. Alive if possible, dead if he resists. Daniel looked at Arisa. She placed a finger over his lips. Stay silent. The rebels moved past. For a long time the forest returned to silence. Only then did Arisa breathe again. They won't stop, she said. They believe taking you is saving this world. Daniel looked up at the glowing branches above. He had crashed here by accident, but now he was part of something much bigger and far more dangerous. I'm not a savior, he whispered, but I won't be their prisoner either. Arisa smiled faintly. Then we survived together, and as the night grew deeper and the rebels searched the forest like wolves in the dark, a bond began to form between the last human male and the woman sworn to protect him. The night was still, too still. Daniel and Arisa crouched under the thick roots of a glowing tree. The air was cool and smelled like flowers and ash. Somewhere far behind them, the forest had started burning. The rebels had set fire to the outer edge to smoke them out. We can't stay here, Daniel whispered. I know, Arisa replied, tightening the grip on her curved blade. But if we move too fast, they'll hear us. Above them, the crystal leaves shimmered with light. The trees were alive, not just with color but with memory. They responded to emotion. Fear made them dim. Hope made them glow. Arisa knew this. She had grown up near these woods. Daniel crawled behind her as they slipped into a narrow path lined with thick vines and soft moss. The light around them faded. Every sound, the crack of a branch, the brush of fabric, felt too loud. I can't believe I'm hiding from people who want to use me, Daniel muttered. This wasn't in the crash manual. Arisa gave a small smile. They don't want you, Daniel. They want your blood, your future children. They think they can rebuild this world with fear and control. He looked at her. And what do you think? She stopped walking, then turned slowly. I think this world doesn't need more control, she said. It needs healing. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the trees. Stop hiding, human, a rebel shouted. Come with us and no harm will come. You are not safe with the Queen's liars. Daniel froze. Another voice, sharper, colder, called out. He belongs to the people, not to one woman. Arisa grabbed Daniel's hand. Run! They darted through the trees, feet barely touching the glowing roots. The forest lit up around them, responding to their panic. Crystal vines reached toward the sky, glowing brighter. Animals scurried into hiding. A bird-like creature screamed from above. Behind them, the rebels were coming. Fast! Where are we going? Daniel gasped. There's a forgotten gate, Arisa said. A transport circle deep inside the forest. Only the old queens used it. If it still works. She didn't finish. But Daniel understood. They were running toward the only escape left. The path narrowed into a tunnel of blue branches. The ceiling sparkled like stars, but the ground was wet and uneven. Daniel stumbled once, fell hard, scraped his hands. "Keep moving," Arisa called, pulling him up. A spear sliced past them, barely missing his shoulder. The rebels were too close now. Daniel turned. "We can't outrun them." "We don't need to," Arisa said. "Just one more turn." And then they saw it. Ring of ancient stone stood in a clearing, half covered by moss. In the center, a circle of broken glass hummed with faint energy. Symbols on the stones flickered as they approached. Daniel stared. "What is this?" "A jump circle," Arisa said. "Before the virus, Viralan leaders used it to travel across the wildlands, but it hasn't been touched in decades." She knelt, placing her hand on the center glyph. "Nothing." "No," she whispered. "Come on." Behind them, the sound of boots, of metal. Daniel raised his fists, breath fast. "If they get closer..." Suddenly, the stones lit up. A pulse of light shot upward, and the circle began to spin slowly. Arisa looked at him. "We have one shot." He nodded. "Let's take it." She grabbed his arm and pulled him into the circle just as a rebel screamed from behind, "No!" The light swallowed them. For 1 second, it felt like floating through water and fire at the same time. The air bent around them. Their bodies stretched, then snapped back. And then silence. They were gone. They reappeared deep within the Singing Hills, a place far from the city and the rebels. The air was cold and clean. The hills shimmered with glowing grass that sang in the wind. Daniel dropped to the ground, breathing hard. Arisa fell beside him. They lay there for a long moment, looking up at the alien stars. "Did we make it?" Daniel asked softly. "For now," she replied. He looked at her face, glowing under the twin moons. "You saved me." "You're not just some human anymore," she said. "You're part of this story now." Daniel smiled slightly. "And what about you?" "I was always part of it," she whispered. "I just didn't know you were." Far away, back in the burning forest, the rebel leader knelt beside the broken transport circle, her face twisted in rage. "You can't run forever, human," she whispered. "We will find you, and when we do, you will belong to us." The Singing Hills were quiet, but peace never lasted long on Zerani Prime. Daniel woke to a strange sound, a steady humming coming from the grass itself. The wind here carried song like whispers, and the sky was filled with silver birds that circled high, always watching. He sat up beside Arisa, who was already awake, sharpening her blade with a flat stone. "How long have we been here?" he asked. 2 nights, she said. "But time doesn't matter now, they found us." Daniel tensed. "The rebels?" Arisa nodded. "Scouts were seen near the river. We can't keep running forever. The Queen has sent a signal. She wants us to return." Daniel frowned. "Return? After everything that's happened?" "She says it's time," Arisa replied. "Time for the ancient way. The trial of unity." He looked confused. "What is that?" Arisa stood slowly, brushing dust from her armor. "It is the only way the people will accept you now, not as a stranger, not as a symbol, but as something real. You will face the Queen's wisdom, the Council's judgment, and the people's will. If you pass, you stay. If you fail, you leave forever." Daniel sighed. "I didn't ask to be part of anyone's trial." She looked at him. "But you are." They returned in silence, flying across the sky in a sleek transport craft sent by the palace. No words were spoken between the guards. Their eyes stayed on Daniel the entire time. When they landed at the palace, the city had changed. Crowds had gathered. Some cheered when they saw Daniel step out. Others just stared with cold expressions. The Queen stood at the top of the stairs, her robe flowing in the wind. "You have returned," she said. "And you come willingly?" Daniel nodded. "Not for power, not for prophecy, Just for truth, she smiled faintly, then stepped forward. The palace doors opened wide. Inside, the throne room had been changed. In the center was a circular platform surrounded by floating crystals. Each crystal held a memory, images from the past, voices from long ago, echoes of pain and love. This was the Chamber of Echoes, the heart of the trial. Daniel stepped onto the platform. A voice rang out, not the queen's, but one of the elder. Councilwomen, human, do you accept the trial of unity? Daniel nodded. I do. The crystals lit up, surrounding him in light. Then, they began to speak. You carry blood not born of this world. Why should we trust you? What would you do if given power here? Would you rule? Would you take? What do you know of loss? Of living without the ones who created you? What is unity to a man who comes from a broken sky? Each question felt like fire in his mind, but Daniel didn't fall. He stood firm. He answered plainly. I don't come here to take anything. I come because I crashed. But in crashing, I saw a world that deserves to rise again. He stepped forward. I don't want to be a king. I don't want to be a prize, but if my voice can bring peace, I'll speak. Another crystal lit up. A memory formed. A child's voice cried out, Why are there no fathers? Why does the sky never send one? Daniel stepped closer. I'm not your missing history. I'm just one man, he said. But maybe one man is enough to begin healing. Suddenly, a second figure stepped onto the platform. Arisa. The queen frowned. She has not been summoned, but Arisa raised her voice. Then summon me now. The council murmured. Daniel looked at her, surprised. I will not let him face this alone, Arisa said. If you judge him, judge me too, for I believed in him when he had nothing. I stood beside him in fire and forest. If he is tested, so am I. The crystals pulsed. Together they placed their hands on the central stone. The lights swirled. The echoes calmed. And then, silence. The platform glowed gold. A soft voice older than the queen's whispered from the stone itself. Unity is not found in blood. It is born in choice. The lights dimmed. The trial had ended. Daniel and Arisa stood hand in hand. Queen Thalendra stepped forward. The council has decided. You have passed. The crowd outside cheered. A roar of voices of hope and relief, but not everyone was pleased. Far away in Mandidaya, the shadows of the city's edge, the rebel leader watched through a hidden screen. Let them celebrate, she said. They forget. Even unity can bleed. The sons of Zerani Prime rose side by side, casting warm golden light over the city towers. People gathered in silence. For the first time in generations, hope felt real. Daniel stood on a high platform, dressed not in royal clothes, but in a simple tunic made by hand, stitched by elder women who remembered the old days. At his side stood Arisa Vel, her armor polished, her eyes calm but sharp. The queen raised her hands, and the crowd went still. Today, she said, Zerani does not welcome a king. It does not worship a prophecy. Today, it honors a choice. She turned to Daniel. You are not our savior. You are not our ruler. But you are one of us now, if you still wish to be. The wind brushed Daniel's face. He looked out over thousands of alien women, mothers, warriors, children, leaders, all staring back at him with silent hope. He took a deep breath. I came here by accident. I fell from the sky, but this world caught me. You didn't throw me away. You listened. He looked to Arisa, then to the queen, then back to the people. I don't want power. I don't want control. I want to help, rebuild. I want to plant, to teach, to protect. If that's enough, then yes. I stay. A wave of emotion rolled through the crowd, cheering, crying, clapping hands and glowing banners. The city of women, for the first time in 3 centuries, had gained something unexpected, a male, but more importantly, a man who chose to understand them. That night, lanterns floated through the sky like tiny stars. Daniel sat near a garden fire, eating roasted fruits while laughing with children who had never seen a man before. They pulled at his sleeves, asked him stories of Earth, of warships and oceans and clouds that rained lightning. He smiled at them. "I've seen a lot," he said, "but I've never seen a world like this one." From across the fire, Arisa watched him. She didn't smile easily, but tonight her eyes were softer. She walked over and sat beside him. "You've changed since the crash," she said. He nodded. "I've changed more in days here than in years back home." She looked at the flames. "What now?" Daniel leaned back. "Now we build. Maybe not for war, maybe not for power, just something that lasts." She turned to him. "And what about us?" He paused, then answered carefully. "If you'll walk with me, Arisa Vel, then yes, let there be an us." Their hands touched. Not a command, not a law, just a quiet promise between equals. But deep beneath the city, in the tunnels where the sun never reached, the rebel leader Sorel stood before a cracked mirror. Her black armor was dented, but her eyes burned with hate. "He thinks this is over," she hissed. Behind her, a group of cloaked followers gathered around a glowing sphere. Inside it floated something, a cloned embryo, male, barely formed, and pulsing with stolen human and Virelin genes, one rebel whispered. "Do we release it?" "Not yet," Sorel replied. "Let their peace grow strong. Let them believe in this unity." She touched the glass, smiling darkly. "Then we break it." 1 year later, children ran through the singing hills, laughing in the sunlight. Virelin women learned to work side by side with the new human settlements. Gardens grew, cities repaired their wounds, and stories were shared in both Earth languages and Virelin tongues. Daniel walked through the old garden where he first spoke with Arisa. She now led a new council, a bridge between the old world and the one rising now. As Daniel sat under the silver tree, a small hand touched his arm. It was a young girl. Her skin was golden blue. Her eyes glowed, but she had his nose. "Papa," she whispered, "are you really from the stars?" He smiled and pulled her into his lap. "Yes, but this is home now." She looked up. "Will the bad people come back?" Daniel glanced at the horizon, thoughtful. "They might," he said softly, "but we'll be ready." And so the world that had forgotten men began again, not with conquest but with a crash, and a choice. The galaxy would soon hear whispers of this small, female-led world, reborn with one human's courage and one alien woman's heart. Together they didn't just survive, they rewrote the future.